When Prince Harry agreed to appear on Piers Morgan's primetime show, many speculated it would either be a redemption arc or a televised powder keg. What few anticipated was that it would devolve into one of the most confrontational on-air interviews in recent memory. Harry, now far removed from his royal duties and living in California with Meghan Markle, had agreed to the appearance under the condition that the conversation would remain focused on mental health, veterans advocacy, and the burden of celebrity scrutiny. But Piers Morgan, never known for subtlety or restraint, had other plans. From the moment the cameras rolled, the energy was tense, the questions sharp, and the underlying animosity between the two men undeniable. What followed was an escalating verbal confrontation that ended with Prince Harry being abruptly removed from the studio. An exit, as stunning as it was symbolic, it started civilly. Piers welcomed Harry with a firm handshake, his smile just a little too tight. "So Harry," he began, "you've gone from royalty to reality. How's the transition treating you?" Harry chuckled politely. "I'm not sure I'd call it reality. I'd say I've stepped into my own truth." Phrase "my own truth" seemed to ignite something in Piers. Truth is a funny word, he mused, leaning in, because to a lot of people, especially the British public, your truth has felt like betrayal. Harry's smile faded. "Standing up for my wife, protecting my family, and speaking out about mental health isn't betrayal," he said calmly. Piers pushed on. "But surely you understand why so many people, your own family included, see your interviews as deeply damaging?" Harry answered, "If telling the truth about my experience is damaging, perhaps the system needed to be challenged." The audience watching at home could feel the storm brewing. The tension ratcheted up when Piers brought up Meghan Markle. "Let's talk about Meghan. She's been accused of manipulating the narrative, controlling your decisions. Are you a prince or a puppet?" Harry's jaw tightened. "I won't allow you or anyone else to reduce my wife to a tabloid caricature." Piers smirked. "Isn't that what she's done to your family?" That's when Harry's demeanor shifted from composed to visibly angry. "You're crossing a line, Piers. You don't know my wife, and you certainly don't know what goes on inside my marriage." Piers raised his hands theatrically. "Just asking questions, Harry, isn't this what free speech is about?" Harry responded, "Free speech doesn't give you the right to insult, belittle, or undermine people trying to heal from trauma." The tension was now thick enough to slice with a knife, and producers backstage were already signaling for a commercial break. Piers, ignoring every cue to cool the conversation, went further. "You and Meghan talk a lot about mental health, about pain, about being unheard. But what about the Queen? What about Prince Philip in his final months? Did they deserve to be part of your public catharsis?" Harry's face turned pale. "Grandfather was one of the first people I spoke to before that interview aired. And my grandmother, the Queen, she knew more than anyone how difficult things had become." Piers scoffed. "That sounds convenient." Harry's voice now trembled with restrained rage. "It's not convenient. It's the truth. Something I realize you have a complicated relationship with." The studio audience, stunned by the hostility, sat frozen. Every word felt like it might tip the entire set into chaos. The studio's director waved frantically at Piers, who continued unfazed. "So, are you saying the royal family failed you?" Harry shot back, "I'm saying they failed to protect us. There's a difference." The conversation then veered into Piers's infamous walkout from Good Morning Britain, which happened after he refused to believe Meghan Markle's statements about suicidal thoughts. "You left your own show in a tantrum when challenged," Harry said pointedly. "And yet you question my courage to speak about mental health on a global stage." Piers laughed coldly. "There's a difference between being challenged and being silenced." Harry leaned in, says the man who storms off when he doesn't get his way. That comment drew gasps from the crew and even a few stifled chuckles from the audience. Piers, now visibly rattled, snapped back, "You're lucky to be here at all. You wouldn't last a day in front of real scrutiny if it weren't for your title." At that, Harry stood up slowly. "Then maybe it's time I leave this platform. It's clearly not one built for truth, only ego." The moment was electric-raw, unscripted, and irreversible. Security was quietly called backstage as the verbal sparring continued. Harry, now standing and removing his mic, turned to the producers and said, "This isn't journalism. This is provocation." Piers rose from his chair, puffing out his chest. "You can dish it out in documentaries, but can't handle it when someone questions you directly?" Harry didn't even look at him. "I've handled war zones with more grace than this studio." The comment cut deep, and even Piers seemed momentarily silenced. Within seconds, Harry had exited the studio, followed quickly by his team and visibly shaken show staff. The remaining few minutes of the program were filled with awkward filler as Piers attempted to brush off the moment, calling it spirited dialogue. But the internet had already exploded. Clips were everywhere, dissected from every angle. Harry had not just walked out, he had dismantled the very foundation of Piers. Morgan's confrontational brand, * social media erupted within minutes. Hashtags like #PrinceHarryWalksOut, #PiersVsHarry, and #RoyalClash dominated trending charts. The video of Harry rising, mic in hand, declaring, "This isn't journalism," became an instant meme. Celebrities chimed in, some supporting Harry's composure, others defending Piers' right to ask hard questions. Oprah Winfrey tweeted, "Truth doesn't need to shout, it just walks out with its head held high." Meanwhile, British tabloids had a field day? "Harry humiliated," screamed one headline. Another read, "Piers pushes too far." Online opinion was sharply divided, reflecting the broader cultural schism between traditional media loyalists and a new wave of transparency seeking audiences. But no matter which side one took, everyone agreed on one thing. This moment had changed the conversation. Piers Morgan, never one to back down from controversy, opened his next show with a fiery monologue. If Prince Harry can't handle a few questions from a journalist, how on earth did he expect to handle the scrutiny of royal life? He asked, eyes gleaming. He claimed victory in exposing hypocrisy and doubled down on every question he had asked. But Harry remained silent. Days later, he released a brief statement through the Arkewell Foundation. "We value dialogue, not hostility. We welcome tough questions, not personal attacks. There's a difference between accountability and antagonism." That statement was shared millions of times and quoted by journalists, thought leaders, and mental health advocates. Harry had once again flipped the narrative. By walking away, he had reclaimed control and silenced the noise. In the days that followed, media outlets began framing the clash in broader cultural terms. It wasn't just about a prince and a pundit. It was about power, vulnerability, and who gets to control the public narrative. Piers represented an older, more aggressive media landscape, one where dominance and disruption took precedence over empathy and truth. Harry, in contrast, symbolized a newer, more emotionally intelligent approach to celebrity, one shaped by therapy, self-reflection, and advocacy. The public debate wasn't just about who was right, it was about which kind of leadership people wanted to see moving forward. As more viewers criticized the way Piers handled the interview, a surprising shift occurred. Ratings dipped for his next episode. While Harry's Arkewell podcast surged in listens, Prince Harry being kicked off for choosing to leave, Piers Morgan's show wasn't just a viral moment. It was a defining cultural flashpoint. It showcased the widening gap between confrontational old-school media and the rising demand for dignity, compassion, and meaningful discourse. Harry didn't need to win the argument. He won by refusing to continue it. By exiting the studio, he didn't retreat. He drew a line. And that line will echo in future interviews across networks and platforms, as a reminder that not every question deserves an answer, and not every stage deserves your voice. It was messy, human, and unforgettable. And above all, it showed that even royalty, when stripped of palaces and protocol, can still deliver one hell of a mic drop.